What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Fangents, and today we're going to take you on a magical mystery, not tour, campaign, because today we're reviewing Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. I will be your DM for this video, Aaron Lewis, and besides me, we have level 29, Rogue.
Jake Carter. Huzzah! Wearing totally just normal clothing, by the way. This is my normal attire. Don't be fooled by the other videos, because this is usually what I wear.
I love it. All right, guys. Like always, we're going to start with kind of some spoiler-free thoughts. Just kind of our take on the movie, our excitement level, and then we'll let you know when we get into the spoilers. So stick around for a little bit. If you haven't seen it, stick around for the whole video if you have, and let's go. So first of all, Jake and I, pretty casual D&D players. I've been playing since high school. He's been playing since college. So, you know, we have our little campaign group that we've been playing with for many, many years. And the thing is, we saw this and instantly I was sold. You?
Oh, 100%. You could say that this movie rolled a natural 20 for fun. It was awesome. It really, I think what they did really well with this film was just kind of capturing the feel of playing a campaign with your friends. I will say that unlike an actual D&D campaign, the movie definitely flies by at like a good pace.
Yeah.
I don't think it like dragged on in any spots really.
I'm glad you brought that up because in my head, there was a point where I was like, this is where we'd stop for the night because we've been playing for 5 hours already.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it takes you like 5 hours to decide which door to go through or who to talk to.
And yes, that has happened in our campaigns with our friends.
Yeah, and usually just ends up at, a tavern, just drinking a few good old pints.
Dwarven ales, baby.
Oh, yeah.
So I know there's the Dungeons & Dragons movie from 2000 that was absolutely bad. I saw it many, many years ago, and I haven't seen it since because I just remember being like, this is bad. And I think, like you said, what they did fantastic in this movie is they brought like the same kind of fantastical like visual elements of like a fantasy world with, like the orcs and the elves and the druids and, the bards and stuff. But all the characters were just kind of schluppy people that would actually be playing. Like on our ride home from seeing the movie, Jake and I were like, this character would be this friend of ours. This character would be this friend of ours. Like you're able to pick out like who in your friend group, if you do play D&D, it can be these characters. I think they nailed it. Like I laughed almost the entire time. It was a fun ride.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the other strong points of this film were the characters that they had, because I think they did a good job, not only with the casting, because I feel like the cast pretty much nailed it, but I think the variety of characters and classes that they had really balance each other out. Like Chris Pine being sort of the ringleader, the bard, really kind of being the master planner, I think was kind of cool to help with all these other types, because then you had Michelle Rodriguez as the barbarian, and then you had a druid and your sorcerer and your paladin. Like it was a really good mix of different features. So.
I think what's really cool is the movie's fun. Period. End of story. Jake and I typically don't dislike movies, so spoiler, like we're probably gonna be like, you should go see it because it's awesome. But this movie's fun. Like go to the movie.
It's a good time.
Run to the theaters.
It's a good ass time. Get your ass in the seat,
Get a popcorn, get a large soda or diet soda, whatever the hell you want.
We don't
slushy.
Judge.
No, slushy. Get a slushy. Sit down in the theater and go for like, what is it, 2 hours and 30 minutes ish, I think? 2 hours 20 minutes?
2 hours 12.
2 hours 12.
Yeah.
2 hours 12 minutes, right? And just ride. But I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was talking about how my dad wants to go see it and how they're excited to go see it. And I was like, hell yeah. So after watching it, I'm just impressed because I'm like, this is the perfect, like, every time somebody goes, oh, like D&D, like, what is it? How do you play it? I'm just going to point them to this movie from now on. Like, it is the best way to describe to somebody that doesn't know role-playing games, that doesn't know, like, D&D or the appeal to it. Just point to this movie because I feel like it does a fantastic job of kind of bringing in new people that don't know the D&D world or how it goes. And also, like, kind of tipping the hat to a lot of, people that know. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, because clearly with some character decisions on there, you can tell that, this person would have rolled, a lower number.
That's a nat 1, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Versus, somebody else rolling just a high whatever.
Yeah.
It is pretty neat, so.
Oh, yeah. All right. That all being said, go out, see the movie, and come right back. If you don't want the spoilers. If you want the spoilers, stay, because here
Welcome.
we go. So, as you all know, because we've all seen the movie, right? Right. We start off with Chris Pine playing Eggin.
It's like Edigan or
Ed
something.
They called him Ed,
Yeah,
so we're just gonna call him Ed.
yeah. Ed and Eddie.
I thought Chris Pine did a fantastic job. I loved him in this movie.
He's so charming.
He is.
He's the perfect bard type to just kind of play that swashbuckling like person who can talk himself out of a situation.
Yeah,
basically.
But I love how so we start off right with the prisoner being brought to the prison, and, and there's no better introduction. So for me, a little insight, when I play D&D, I'm usually either barbarian or fighter. Typically in this current campaign, I'm actually a warlock, so that's pretty interesting. But typically I'm like a barbarian or a fighter. And so that first scene when you have like this big monster dude walk in on Michelle Rodriguez, Olga, love her, who's like this barbarian character, and she just breaks both legs, slams his head down, and finishes her potato. I was like, this is a character after my heart.
Yeah, you don't mess with her,
No.
Yeah.
I was like, here we go. And so I love how like from the jump, you have that expectation of this is a ride. And you have Chris Evans sitting there knitting mittens. Knitting mittens.
Yeah, he was knitting some mittens for his daughter.
So I love like the duality that we get set up there. And then from then, we get the parole scene where they're trying to get their pardon and stuff. And I think that was a fantastic way to give us all the exposition of backstory and / world building. I was very impressed how tight they did that, but still in a way that didn't pull you out of the story because you're part of the story, because it was literally him telling the story to get parole, or I guess pardon.
Yeah. Because I feel like a huge part of any D&D campaign is the characters, and that includes sort of the backstory. Mm-hmm. So I was very curious to see how they were going to flesh out all these characters. Yeah. And so to your point, I think they did a nice job of showing us where Chris Pine's character had been and where he is now. So that was
it totally reminded me too of so like when we play D&D with our friends, like whoever's DMing is always like, okay, new characters, guys, okay, cool, like, have backstory, so I can like, kind of play with it. And as he's given his backstory, I was like, yeah, this sounds familiar.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like that's another thing about the movie is it's fairly predictable, especially if you play D&D. Like it does feel like a campaign, which is like really, I don't know, it's comforting. I like it. It is predictable, but it's in a way that is still so enjoyable and fun. Like I didn't really mind it. Typically I get really annoyed with predictability in movies, but it was a great time.
It's just a fun fantasy romp, like it's just a good tale that like you get to go off, do very D&D things, which is, you're sent on a quest to find a certain thing, and then you meet interesting like NPCs along the way and people that you talk to. And so, yeah, I think that just made it a lot of fun and different types of people.
And what I like too, so if you play D&D, like, especially if you play with kind of some jarhead kind of people like I am sometimes my DM, which is the one that always wants to break the story and what's the motivation to go on this adventure. And I thought that was a great idea for them to be like, okay, they have like this little like, troop of people, but then it's Kira, Ed's daughter, Chris Pine's daughter in the movie, that is like kind of like that motivating factor for him to kind of, free her, get the treasure, go have a life together. And then from that kind of snowballs. I think that was I don't know, really good storytelling. Yeah. Because like, I don't know, it's always that question of why should I go on this quest? Why should I risk my life?
Yeah. And I think she was a good motivation for him. I feel like besides her being the motivation, there wasn't a ton of depth between like them. Like he alluded to, and we got kind of flashbacks that she was a part of their, crew.
Oh yeah, helping out.
Yeah, doing all these things. I would have loved to have known, what she was doing. I mean, she received this like pendant that turned her invisible. So I'm assuming that was kind of her thing. But I don't know. I felt like there was a little bit of just like, obviously he's trying to go after her, but it just seemed like that kind of stopped at that, or just didn't seem as fully developed as I feel like I wanted to. I don't feel like I knew Kira as much, because every time we cut back to her, she was just in the castle, just like hanging out, and like, I feel like we didn't get to know who she was or like more stuff about her.
I mean, but to be honest though, like I don't think we needed to, because the story was more about Chris Pine and his motivations.
Yeah, I mean,
so like I didn't mind it.
Yeah, but to a certain point, I feel like they could have done a little bit more with her, but that was kind of my one thing.
I'm wondering if that was like left on the cutting room floor. I bet.
Maybe.
I bet there's some of the. I'm assuming the movie was longer, right? I'm assuming some of the things they probably cut was that this movie, it moves fast and there's a lot.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot.
Right. And I will say, like, besides that, the only other thing that I kind of had not a huge issue with, but I was like, oh, okay. And this kind of goes back to the predictability thing, was Hugh Grant's character, which I really loved Hugh Grant in this movie. I thought he nailed it, playing this like schmarmy con man guy.
Because he was just himself.
Yeah, he's just like, I just want to make a buck, you know, and or whatever they call it in this world, or gold coin.
I just want to make some.
Let's make some bucks.
Make some bucks.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, there are deer in the castle. I'd love that.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry, we'll talk about that second.
But no, so his character like started off by being this con man guy who was a part of Chris Pine's group, and then come to find out, spoiler, you know, he screws them over and basically like double crosses them and took all the riches and is now like the lord of this town. But his motivation is very just stereotypical bad guy of, I just want money, because he didn't want the power. Like him being the lord was just kind of like a cover to help with the main villain, who were like these red wizards. But he was just like, I just want to be rich and like sail off into the sunset with his boat full of gold at the end, which I was like, okay, like that's fine and like whatever. But it just felt very like blah. I don't know. Yeah.
Honestly, I think once again, like I'm okay with that because like it's a D&D adventure.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, I didn't expect there to. I think the one thing was like, oh well, given their history, like I expected there to be a little bit more of an emotional kind of connection, sort of.
I don't know. But I definitely took it as more like a business, like professional partnership. Not necessarily like, I don't think there was very much emotion into it. Yeah. Besides like that, I think the reason why we try, like why we get emotion from it is because that last ditch effort of as he's getting stuck in the time thing before he goes to jail, how he's like, take care of Kira. And it's because he's the only one that's not being, you know, sucked in.
And also that was weird how he was like, I'm going to be Kira's daddy now.
I'm daddy now.
And
like, no, sir.
Like, no, you're kind of a schmarmy asshole.
What is it? He relates it to being a god, like somebody you can mold into your image. I was like, oh
I'm
god,
like, this is literally the opposite of a person who should be a parent.
Yeah. So just let's go through the rest of the crew here. Justice Smith's character of Simon, the lack of confident sorcerer.
The poor, you know, guy who's trying to come to his own as sorcerer and try to be confident in himself. I think most people can relate to somebody who you're trying your best and like you want to be better. And so I really liked his character development in this movie. Probably was my favorite. And like, seeing, you know, starting off by meeting him again and like seeing he's doing like these cheap magic tricks of the scent of grass. I thought was really really clever. So yeah.
But I say predictability of it, right? Like instantly you go, especially when he's telling the story of like Doric, who we'll get to in a second. He was like, she said that being around me made her sad. Nothing in general, just me. I was like, oh shit. Yeah. But like from that jump, you go, okay, we understand like what this guy's like. What his character arc's gonna be. He's gonna build self-esteem, and I like that like he builds it to a point where he's not fully there. Because I think that's part of his charm a little bit. He is like so self-doubting, especially as like a wizard or a sorcerer. Because like, for instance, like in D&D, like your Constitution score is usually really high. Maybe not really high, but it's one of your higher ones amongst like wisdom and intelligence in D&D. So it's like Constitution, you gotta have that faith. And so to see him be so low, I found hilarious. But also kind of skipping ahead a little bit, I love how he's the only one that can use the helm, right? Because he's the only magic one. And that he sees his great-great-grandfather who just keeps beating his ass with the
until he realizes he's got to just like slap him, you know?
Yeah, he punches him. I love it. So I was expecting him to be like, I'm not scared of you. And he goes, that's a good job. No, he just decks him.
Yeah.
To win over the helm. I love it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So Doric, the druid, which I don't know what I was expecting because like watching the trailers and going into it, I didn't think that she was going to be a tiefling. So I was kind of surprised by that because I don't think I've ever experienced somebody or a character in a D&D campaign where they were a tiefling druid. So I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And yeah. So my only complaint about her character is the lack of tail use.
Yeah, she used it like one time I remember
where she like we see and the camera intentionally shows us where it like wraps around, right? And I was like, damn, she could have been using that tail this whole time.
No, she could have been like being all Nightcrawler and stuff, you know?
But Jake, my favorite moment of this whole movie, there's multiple, but one of my favorite moments from this movie is when she turns into an owlbear. I was like, hell yes. As you can see from edition 4 Monster Manual I have back here. Yes, we played edition 4. Yeah. I remember flipping through the pages and seeing the owlbear being like, this is a fucked up animal, but I like it. And I don't know, it's always been one of my favorite monsters, and I'm assuming the rest of the people that play D&D like it too. That's why they put in the movie. But I was just like, hell yeah, let's go owlbear.
Yeah. And even the gelatinous cube got a nice little, moment in the movie.
Cube,
which is absolutely terrifying.
Beholder got a shout out in it. I'm so glad we didn't see one, because as much as they are like OG D&D, they're kind of dumb to me. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we didn't see one in this, but we got like a little shout out to it. So yeah, her being a druid, I thought was really cool. God, we have a friend Courtney who always plays a druid, or kind of an elf character in nature-esque, right, or rogue or whatever, or a ranger. But she was a druid in one of our last campaigns, and how I'm blanking on her name. What's the actress?
Who played?
Yeah, Sophia Lilas.
Something.
Lilas?
Yeah, it was the girl from It.
Yeah,
the It remake.
But how she played Doric cracked me up, because like, this is our friend Courtney. Like that, I don't trust humans. Like, humans are all liars. I was like, yep, this checks out.
Got a point.
Yeah, she's got a point. I love
it.
I love it. But no, I love that we got to see a druid, and I love that we got to see like her array of power, especially like her shape shifting abilities. Ooh, shape shifting abilities.
Say that five times fast.
Yeah, exactly. And I think just one of the things I did really well was highlight each individual class in the D&D world that was represented in the movie. That was really cool, because sometimes, like, obviously, like bards, fighters, rogues, rangers, even like sorcerers and wizards, we do get to see a lot of that in like regular fantasy stuff, and we have kind of visual language of what that looks like. But I don't think druids really get that kind of exposure in like movies and TV and stuff. But yeah, not live action at least.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to like get that visual language of that, to kind of see how she shapeshifts and how she can go from like the fly to the snake to the mouse to the whatever.
Oh man, and it's such a good pace too.
Yeah.
Like, I
horse
thought it
to
was really
owlbear,
cool.
boom, like that.
Yep.
Loved it.
Yeah. And speaking of like highlighting people's like power sets and stuff, I thought that this film did a really good job with the special effects.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I thought they absolutely nailed kind of what those powers look like. And to your point, the shape shifting, it all looked really decent, and like the red wizards looked really cool and menacing. Yeah. Simon's like wizarding powers looked really neat. Yep. And like
do you know my favorite effect though was
it the time bubble?
Oh damn.
The time bubble was really cool.
The time bubble was really cool. No, it was the portal.
Oh, the portal, yeah. That was also cool.
Like the staff thing. What was it? Like the hither there or whatever it was called.
It was a cool.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Because like if you play D&D, like or even just like video games or books or whatever, you hear about portals and you see portals, and each like one is different from another of how they kind of set it up visually, and to see how they used it too, especially when they're trying to get the painting into the carriage. I was just like, this is freaking brilliant.
Oh my god! As somebody who's a sucker for plans, a good plan, I love seeing this plan unfold. Yeah. Of like how they were supposed to get into this vault, and this being like plan B or C of the original plan. Like,
but even like
so cool.
Just like the use of it, how like Chris Pine puts it to the sorry guys, puts it to the bottom of the carriage, right, and with the portal attached to the painting, and then Michelle Rodriguez, 50 feet away or whatever, hammers out the bottom of it, and then like I'm sitting there like, I feel like I've played something like this before, but I never understood what it looked like, and to see that, I was like, this is so freaking cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Yeah. All the effects, I mean, even all the creatures looked great.
Yeah.
It looked like it was a hybrid of practical and VFX, like the Dragonborns that are in here. And
Jonathan. Just wait for Jonathan.
Well, this is spoilers, so these people have seen Jonathan.
I know. Okay, well, that's fair. That's fair. Jonathan just like stand out. The hero we didn't know we needed, but now I want him to be a part of whatever the next one is.
I'll tell you what, too.
I want him to be a fed up aristocrat who's just like, fuck this shit, I'm just gonna do my own thing and join this group. Like, that would be great.
The one thing I did love was when Chris Pine's giving his like opening, like argument to why they need to be, released and whatever. He's like, I really think Jonathan would have like the best. Like, I really need him to be here. And you think, oh, they probably know each other somehow, like strangely, or like, I don't know, like maybe he's the more sympathetic, noble person, judge, whatever the hell they were, proprietor. I don't know. No, it's just he's an eagle man that they're gonna tackle out the window to fly away. No, and then one of my favorite parts of the whole movie is as they fall out with the Jonathan the Eagle Man, the Dragonborn goes, "But we approved your pardon."
Yeah, which is I think another example of how well they translated the game of D&D to
Oh.
film, right? Because it's like, you can totally see the DM being like, all right, you're trying to go up and prove your innocence or whatever, try to get your pardon. And then the people in the group being like, you know what? What's our plan B? We're just going to try to get out of here some other way. Let's hijack the Birdman and bust out the window. Like, and then it's like the DM rolls and it's like, oh, well, you guys got approved anyway. I just thought it was brilliantly done.
And like,
D&D-ism.
yeah, I think one of the things they really captured in this movie is when you play D&D, it's supposed to be fun, right? It's a game you're playing with friends or, new people that you are going to hopefully make friends with. And I think what they captured in it was they didn't take themselves too seriously, but they didn't go too bonkers whackers, right? Bonkers whackers.
Whackers bonkers.
Whackers bonkers. But like they kept it, pretty contained to like the craziness that was. So for instance, like if you've played D&D before, there's always that one person in your campaign that likes to try to break the story in the sense of not, being a rule Nazi or whatever, but pushing the envelope. Like, all right, the whole group's gonna go, towards like Windsor Haven or Neverwinter, and one guy's gonna go, nope, I'm gonna go to the seashore. And it's like, well, damn.
Yeah.
And I felt like they didn't go that far of the craziness that you would have when you play with friends, but like they kept it like very loose and casual and like fun. And as much as there was predictability to it, there like I didn't predict they're gonna tackle an eagle man out the window.
Either.
Like,
I loved it. And
yeah.
I loved how Michelle Rodriguez, she was just ready and she like distracted him or like threw something at him. I threw a potato, I think. And then like Chris Pine grabs him and then they just both jump out, like expertly done.
Okay, shout out though to the saddest, sorriest person in the movie. Poor dead guy they leave alive.
Oh my god. That whole scene was like excellent.
That feels like it's straight out of like somebody playing a campaign, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and like just the act of like you go talk to this guy, you gotta go talk to this guy. Nope, this guy. It's like
Nope,
just
that
keep
guy.
going on, yeah, huh? And then of course they leave that poor schmuck alive.
and I love how
Who
like
knows how long?
spoiler, well not spoiler, but like the mid-credit scene where he's still alive. He's like, anybody there?
Yeah, anybody
Shit.
can you ask me a question?
And somebody asked me a question. Oh my god, I love
good.
it. Like it just puts a smile on your face. It's a great movie. Like I'm probably gonna watch it again. I really one thing I did want to bring up is I think if they can keep if the movie does well, right? If any movie does well, they're always gonna want to make sequels.
Oh yeah.
I really hope they make a sequel to this. Not necessarily a direct sequel of like the same cast, whatever. Like that'd be cool. But even if it's just even if it was just like D&D, like insert cool title here that I can't think of right now, right? And it's like a whole new cast of characters, but it's the same world, has the same visual language, like kind of the same kind of jovial writing and stuff. Like I think that's gonna kind of bring audience. And I'll tell you right now, if I'm Wizards of the Coast, who are the creators / owners of like the game and like property writers and all that fun stuff, like I am hoping this movie does well.
Oh yeah. And you could easily, like you said, either do, direct sequels and have Chris Pine and all them, or yeah, do your own thing, like a different thing with a whole new set cast.
Yeah.
And then you could even have one of them pop in, like if you really wanted to like keep whatever continuity. But yeah, I think the franchisability of this series, this film, like it's just there's so much potential that they can have, and I'm so excited by that.
Yeah.
Because who doesn't love just a fun fantasy romp? I do.
I mean, I do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. Like the more I think about it, the more I'm like, damn, I want to go. Oh, we didn't talk about what's his name? Like Zink.
Oh yeah,
The Paladin?
Zink, the Paladin.
The guy,
the OP just like character who's of course just rolling the nat 20s all the time.
God. So I took him more as like the kind of like the NPC character that your D&D like vicariously plays through because they can't actually play in the campaign, so like
Right.
they play as this character to kind of lead you. So because especially when they're in like the Underdark or is that what it's called?
Underdark.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Underdark. And he's just slaying these red wizards like nothing. You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
And I won't forget, Jake. Do you remember the one time that you and I looked at each other in the movie?
Oh yeah, the sword.
Yeah.
He like shoots his sword off of his hilt and just boom. That was pretty neat.
And then goes back to the guy, reconnects it, and then keeps fighting.
Yeah.
I was like, whoever came up with that weapon or whoever came up
Badass.
with that in the movie, that was cool as shit. So cool.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of the Underdark, though, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the chunky dragon. The thick boy.
Or as Holga says, like, that's one pudgy dragon.
Pudgy dragon.
And I'm so glad they recognized it.
Because my God, I didn't realize that I needed a fat dragon in my life, but honestly, that made it for me.
Do you know what I keep thinking of every time I saw it? I was like,
What's that?
this looks like somebody recorded, like in a mocap suit, they recorded like their overweight corgi or beagle.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking also a pug too.
Or a pug, right? Just like one of those overweight dogs. Like when it's sliding down, it's not even using its back leg.
Yeah, it's just literally free falling, just like and then when it tries to like jump up and get him on the bridge and stuff, it's trying its hardest, like.
And then it rolls. Then it falls at one point and it just rolls.
Yeah,
God,
it rolls
damn.
with its rules, you know, like. So funny.
That's one pudgy dragon.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And I like Zink was like, oh, I thought he was in another den or something, and then Chris Pine, did he eat that too? Like, oh man.
Oh God. But
iconic.
Oh, I totally forgot about this part where it's like Chris Pine's past, like. So I like how at the beginning, right, where he's telling the story and talks about like how he was part of the Harpers and like, you know, how they were kind of the eyes and ears of justice and whatever, you know, and like bringing like people kind of espionage-esque, which is kind of my take on it.
Like the neighborhood watch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think a little more.
I mean, a little bit more like discreet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that the fact that when he talks about how the Red Wizards came for him and his wife, like, I like how they totally set it up to where he leaves that little part out where it's like, oh, they like, because you assume, oh, like they figured out that he jailed one of their buddies, so he came for his family, right? And then later on we find, oh no, he stole a piece of their gold.
Yeah, it was out of his own greed that led. Yeah.
And that's when I was like, this was good. That was good.
Yeah.
I
think just his whole admission of, hey, I know I'm like a bad father and like all this stuff, just how fallible he was, I think was really
how
nice
he gave
moment.
that great speech to Kira, his daughter, who then actually was just Sophina, the Red Wizard in disguise.
Yeah.
Like my favorite line was he was like, you know what? No, I wasn't gonna bring your mom back. I was gonna bring my wife back. I was like, oh, damn.
Such a good line.
Good line. And then it turns out to be Sophina the Red Wizard, which, by the way, Daisy Head, I believe is the actress name. Fantastic job. She was scary.
Creepy as shit.
She did hurt those eyes. They were like Jenna Ortega and Wednesday kind of eyes, you know, like just very. Oh, and that was another cool. I'm just getting too excited, guys. I'm sorry.
This is great. This makes me want to go see it again.
I know, right? But like, one of the other cool ass effects in this was the quick transition of her like outfit.
Oh yeah, her color from
her robes and stuff.
Yeah, to like that nice crimson red.
Yeah, it was like that like dark navy or black color, whatever. And she takes the hood off and turns to red, and then vice versa when she's like walking back with her homies to send after the troop.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh.
I wish. Another thing, I mean, because for me it was like the villains. I'm like, oh, I would have liked to know a little bit more about the Red Wizards, just because I'm a backstory lore guy. And you know that they had that one scene where she's talking to like the Voldemort looking dude, her like leader, I guess I'm assuming, because like we see him in the flashback doing the whole, you know, and then he's like, oh, we're just using, you know, Hugh Grant's character as sort of the facade to like, you know, take over the world and stuff and turn everybody into zombies again in our army. But like I just would have liked a little bit more of that. Yeah. Just knowing more, you know.
I mean, I think that's what it comes down. I mean, not every bad guy in the D&D world campaigns or the people create are just very, you know, two-dimensional of like they just want control. But I feel like that's kind of what like his whole spiel was. Like I don't know, like like a high priest kind of person, or like he was like a high council member of like the Fae.
And I think for me it was the fact that we already had that with Hugh Grant's character being very two-dimensional motivations, that it's like I wanted one, because technically it's like two villains, right? Because you had Hugh Grant and then her, and even though he's like working kind of for her, I wish one of them would have had a little bit more to like chew on.
Yeah, sure.
You know, just a little bit more, not a bunch, because like you said, like at the end of the day, you don't need this like villain who's struggling with this like psychological whatever, but I don't know, just maybe a little bit something extra.
I think, like, yeah, I think
at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that they did a great. It didn't bug me as much. I think they did a better job of focusing on like our main little like D&D like group, like the campaign groups character arcs. That I didn't really feel like we needed that much from them, because we knew their motivations, we knew they're bad. I'm more curious of like how these, you know, losers, these zeros, come together to defeat, you know, a red wizard slash, you know, a lord of a whole city.
Yeah.
So I hear you. Like, but then again, I'm like, where'd you put that in there?
I mean, I feel like they could have added like maybe one
Yeah.
other thing. I don't know, because then we find out that Zinc had some connection with these red wizards, right?
Well,
And like,
well, they're Thay. Like that's where they're from.
yeah, but like that's like, and then he got like the little tattoos on his head because of the attack he narrowly escaped from.
Which
And,
I'm kind
like-
of confused about that. And maybe in the comments, please tell me,
Yeah, please
help me
tell-
out here, because like I'm assuming that was like some type of like either protection spell, like kind of Harry Potter style that was put on him, or like he did that to himself to protect. Like I don't know, is that your kind of read on that too?
Yeah, or like was it that the red wizard, like the spell or whatever was happening, was it like slightly getting him, and so that left
Oh.
him with a little bit of a mark? That's kind of how I interpreted it.
Could have been, yeah.
Because he like narrowly escaped, right? And a
Yeah.
little bit of that smoke or clouds got him.
Yeah.
But then he was able to get away. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Please
Hey,
let
yeah,
us
I'd say if you guys know, please get in those comments
But
on there
then-
and let us know.
But then it's like, so to answer your question, it's like I feel like had, you know, Zinc not just like pieced out, which I'm glad they did, because I feel like a lot more of him would have been, you know, a lot to have this OP character just like
Yeah.
wrecking shop the whole time. Like it was nice to see our core group really
Yeah.
shine, but I feel like that could have been kind of a nice little more emotional connection to the villain was with him. But
That's fair.
maybe we'll find out more in the next one if he's
Maybe.
around, because we do know that he's old as shit. He's been around for a while,
Yeah.
so at least 100 years. So
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe, yeah. So now I think about it, because he is a human.
Yeah.
So like maybe in like the red wizard lady, she's like 300, whatever
Yeah.
they mention it, like how
and
old.
that's so that's why I was like, oh, he got
That
like
would make
tagged with
sense,
that the
yeah.
clouds, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, I'm riding with you.
So
Yeah, I'm stepping when you're stepping, or whatever that saying is.
smelling what you're stepping in.
Oh God, is that it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I'm smelling what you're stepping in.
Oh man, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing that. No, I'm following you. I don't like that saying.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
That's a
yeah.
goodie, yeah.
All right.
Good old Midwestern saying.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the movie?
I just want to reiterate that this was a fun movie. Like, and it did fly by.
Yeah.
Like, I know we saw John Wick last week, which was a little bit on the longer side, and like it went by pretty quickly. It was almost 3 hours, but I think this movie really, like, they just nailed like the pacing of each of these places they went to, because like we said, it was very much a let's talk to this person to go here and to get this thing, and but it was fun and it was cool to see all these different environments and different people. So even if you're not a fan of D&D or haven't played D&D, first of all, you should. Second of all, just check it out. It's a fun fantasy film. So
Yeah, just to echo a lot what you said, I'll be a little more concise, because going back to what I said at the top of it, I think this was the best way for D&D to reach a wider audience. Whether you've played before, whether you've not, I think it's an enjoyable, fun fantasy movie that I think it's going to be a touchstone for everybody moving forward when they think of like Dungeons and Dragons.
Damn.
And so go out and see it. It's fun. It goes by quickly. And it'll leave you smiling and laughing.
And what a great world and time we live in, because we have both this movie and then we also have Critical Role, the animated
Oh,
series
yeah.
on Amazon that is done by The Legend of Vox Machina and Critical Role, and which that's a great series. You guys should also check that out.
If you didn't get enough of the Dungeons and Dragons
Yeah,
kind of
you need
feel
more.
or world from this movie, our little mic bling that we got going on from Vox Machina on Amazon Prime. So great kind of extension of that, where they kind of have a little bit of the wacky craziness, more of the gameplay kind of feel of D&D while also telling a fun fantasy story. So yeah, what a great time to be a D&D fan.
Yeah, it's good. Fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. On that note, go out and see it again. Go out and see it for the first time. I don't care. Just come back, watch this review, join us next time, and let us know what you think in the thoughts.
Yeah.
What do we do well? What can we talk about more? What are your thoughts? We'd love to know. We're kind of still starting off, kind of catching our feet, catching our feet. Yeah, catching our feet, so we'd love to see you next time. Bye-bye.